Okay, I'd like to call the Joint Special School Building Committee to order. We're at the Brian S. McCarthy Middle School. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2024. And would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Alderman Dowd?
Present.
Alderman Wilshire?
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons?
Here.
Alderman Sullivan?
Here.
Alderman Lopez?
Here.
Ms. Raymond is out tonight. Ms. Bishop is here. Ms. Gilio?
Here.
Ms. Daniels-Williams?
Here.
Ms. Prin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Very good. Okay, now if the clerk would lead us in the prayer, and would Alderman Lopez lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the educational affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all of our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. If there are no objections, I'd like to waive the reading of the minutes of the June 27th, 2024 meeting and place them on file. Remarks by Chairman. I want to thank everyone for coming to this meeting tonight. We're at the Brian S. McCarthy New Middle School. Everyone is here to get their first look at the school. It's very, very, very close to completion, although we have punch list little items left, which will be taken care of, and the classrooms are all set up with furniture and everything, and we'll have a little tour for people after the meeting. So just wanted to welcome everybody here. Remarks by school administration, Dr. Andrade.
No, again, it gets repetitive, but each month I continue to thank the JSSBC, Harvey, Harriman, EEI, and our Director of Operations for all the work that they're doing. Obviously, we'll see a little bit more of the school here tonight, but all the work at Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, and that Dr. Crisp is going along smoothly, and we anticipate a smooth transition come September. So, again, thank you for all the support and continue the great work.
John?
Right on cue.
What timing?
Yeah, I'm not busy. I added something to your pile before you came in, 2 items. One was a package for Stello Stadium. That is on the agenda, but we didn't have all the information we needed ahead of time. So that is there. We'll discuss that later in the meeting. And then our accounts payable department discovered an error in our accounting. And actually it was a bill that was paid last month and approved last month. So I just copied the second page of the agenda that lists all the invoices, and you can see the changes down towards the bottom of the page.
Okay. First item that we'll have discussed, architect's report from Harriman. Mark?
Yes, Mark Lee with Harriman.
Yeah.
It's been a little while. I'm kind of the stand-in for Jamie, but wonderful to be with everyone tonight. I'll give kind of a brief update here. A lot of the work, I think Harvey will report on progress on a lot of the projects here, but
Mark, there are a lot of people who don't know who you are and what your position is.
sure, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. My name is Mark Lee. I'm an architect. I happen to also be the CEO of Harriman. Of course, Sean and Rick knew me when I was just a little lowly architect, but been really fortunate to be involved in a lot of projects, in particular some work on the design of this project as well, the McCarthy School. So excited again to be with everyone. So I'm sometimes lurking in the background behind Jamie and Neary and others, but but have been very much a part of the project all along. So it's really gratifying in some ways. So just as it relates to this school, we, as I think was mentioned, punch list items ongoing, but we also have our civil engineers that will come in and review the site for a final punch list in early August. Beyond that, we're also, I guess, the reinforcing of the roof beam at Area D that I think most folks are familiar with. That has been completed, we understand, so that's also good news. With respect to Pennachuck, the dehumidification, that's a phased project that Harvey's continuing to work on, and we'll be there for a punch list of Area C the first week of August as well. And when it comes to Birch Hill and Main D, we've submitted a PR for some site modifications and improvements that were requested. That went out on the 17th of July. The progress of the construction is about 90% work is complete on phase 3, and the re-roofing work is about a little more than half complete. And we're starting the punch list of phase 3 and estimate to be complete, but that by the end of August. So that's the architect's report. As I said, I think most of the progress we'll see in the contractor's report as well. But
Any questions for the architect? All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, next we'll move on to the structure manager's report, and I think, Ken, you're going to start it off?
Sure. So, good evening, everybody. Ken Lemarier, project manager, Harvey Construction. It's nice to finally be sitting in this nice new building. So I'll take you through the updates for Brian S. McCarthy Middle School, and then Brendan will take you through the upgrades over at Pennachuck and Main D, Birch Hill, and Dr. Crisp for the security vestibule. So as always, we'll start kind of at the exterior of the site. So we've got some new aerial photographs that were taken actually the day that we were paving. You can see some of the paving trucks still there. So since this photo's been taken, all of the line striping has been completed. Then also working with Mr. Smith's team, we were able to get the muster point lettering and numbering set up for the fire alarm and emergency egress area set up. So that's all taken care of right now. We've set up all of the exterior gym equipment. The playground rubber surfacing has been completed. That's wrong button. Which one is it? It's not working. Oh, that's around the back side of the building. We can take a walk after the meeting if you'd like, and I can show you that. Track surfacing and striping has been completed, as well as you can see the basketball court striping that was done at the same time as the track. And then we're going to be basically fine-tuning and just maintaining all of the athletic fields and doing all of the lawn cutting and kind of tuning things up and keeping it looking nice for the opening of school. So we did just perform a lawn mowing and a trimming just this week, and then we'll be doing that basically weekly until the school's open, so we'll keep it looking fresh. We also did a town walkthrough with Nashua, DPW, and planning that took place on Monday morning. They've issued their punch list of minor things that we're going to address, and then Mark's team's going to be walking through and doing an exterior punch list as well. So we've got a few things that we're still going to be taking care of over the next 4 to 6 weeks, but all in all, for a project this size, we're in really, really great shape for the timing, because usually the summer before the grand opening is usually a lot more hectic than this has been. So we're pretty fortunate. Regarding D. Antonio Drive, that was also part of the DPW walkthrough and punch list. So that's been officially turned over to DPW as a city street. And then Alderman Dowd, I believe August 1st, we're going to be doing a dedication. I don't know if you want to. Yes, August 1st at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to have an unveiling of the plaque telling people who Mr. Dan Antonio was. He was a war hero from World War II and the father of the people that we bought the land from.
So that will be at 1 o'clock on the 1st of August.
Excellent. Moving on to the interior of the building, so Alderman Dowd mentioned the punch list, so that's, again, Mark's team walks through Jamie and Neary, and they generate punch list items as well as items that we notice that need to be fixed. So over 2,000 items were generated between the construction team and the architects team. We've now got that list down to less than 30 items at this point. So, you look at something long enough and you find new things you add to. So we're kind of adding as we go. So like I said earlier, we've got 4 to 6 weeks to get everything addressed for grand opening. Part of the punch list process is the MEP commissioning. So basically going through all of the new systems here. So Turner Building Sciences, that's a third-party consultant that Mr. Smith's team hired. They go through and make sure that we're adhering to Harriman's specifications to ensure that all of the equipment and the electrical components are running as they should be. So right now, similar to the punch list, they issue a list of items that need to be addressed, and then we take care of those items, and then slowly but surely, we kind of flush out all of the issues and get the building running smoothly. So right now, we're working through that. That's probably the main focus over the next 4 to 6 weeks as we approach grand opening. Alderman Dowd mentioned the owner equipment and furniture. This is pretty much complete. I know there's a few lagging items that are waiting to be delivered, but all in all, it went really well. It was phased, and I think we all coordinated and worked together very well for a building this size. The health inspection was completed at the kitchen, so that's part of the temporary certificate of occupancy that was issued by the building department in early July. That kind of allowed the school to move in and start to get to know the building. So the big goal is to work through those minor punch list items that I mentioned, and then once those are completed, we'll get the final certificate of occupancy from the building department. So we're shooting for August 1st date for that as well. So that's the last real major milestone for the construction team. Part of the other part of the commissioning process is with all the new systems and components, we need to train the staff and the employees how to use them. So we've already completed all of the mechanical and plumbing training for Mr. Smith's team. We have the kitchen equipment scheduled for the middle of August, and then we've got all the electrical, audio, visual, security set to take place next Wednesday, and then gym equipment will follow. So over the next couple of weeks, we basically kind of working with the principal and her staff and the maintenance crew, making sure that everybody's comfortable with the new systems that have been installed. And then again, I've got the note, the first day of school is the 27th, so that's the last big milestone date.
Any questions concerning McCarthy? I did attend the DPW meeting this afternoon. I had a talk with Dan, and I have some insight into some of their punch list items, so we can talk about that later.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brendan?
Hello, everybody. Brendan Arell, Harvey Construction. I'll take you through Pennachuck Middle School dehumidification, give you an update on where we stand there, and then walk you through Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable concurrently, and then we'll also bring you through Dr. Crisp and any updates we have over there as well. So starting off with Pennachuck Middle School dehumidification. So we are now in the North Addition. The South Addition is complete in its entirety, with the exception of getting the equipment operational. In order to do that, we need to complete everything at the roof level, but our focus throughout this summer has been getting everything in the building complete and getting out of those spaces to ensure that they can be waxed, cleaned, and occupied come the start of school. So as I mentioned at the last meeting, we were wrapping up the South Addition and moving into the North Addition. Over the last few weeks here, we've completed all of the electrical panel installation within the North Addition. So all of the cassette units that you see hanging in the ceiling in these pictures, they have all been mounted, they have all been wired. The ceiling grid has been modified around them. refrigerant piping and condensate piping, which are all the systems that make this operate. Those have all been installed as well. We're working through over the next 2 weeks our final push just to wrap up the last 4 units with the refrigerant piping. And we have to do a process called pipe brazing with that, which is just the process for joining the fittings of the pipe together. So it's a pretty lengthy process. And then we pressure test everything to ensure it is fine-tuned and installed correctly. And then once we get out of the north addition, we will move up to the roof. So right now, we are tracking our above-ceiling inspections for the week of 8/5. We have firmly scheduled those for Wednesday, 8/7 with the Nashua Building Department. So we are targeting a turnover toward the end of the week of 8/5 or the very first couple days of the week of 8/12. So I'm working with Mr. Smith and his team and the custodial staff just to ensure that they can get into any rooms that we've completed thus far and continue to allow them to get the space ready for students. Given sort of a general overview of everything that we've done in the project. So as I said, we started in the South Addition back in April, and that spanned until about June. The North Addition, we're in there from about June till very early on in August. The roof level, we did get a jump on this, actually. We were up there in April for a little while, primarily tackling all of our work with the steel and everything I showed you previously over these last couple summer months, June and July. And then we will finalize the roof connections, which will bring us into October, and then get the system operational and go through much of the same process that Ken just described for this school in the commissioning process. So our overall upcoming milestones are turning over the North Addition, not the South Addition as I have written there. And then we will move into all of the rooftop equipment connections and everything that I just described. Any questions on Pennachuck Middle School?
Questions about Pennachuck? And you do note that all that stuff that you see on the roof and on the side angles, that's all solar panels. So, which is working quite well. Okay, if there are no questions on that.
Okay. Jumping into Birch Hill and Main Dunstable. So I just wanted to start off with this slide again to give you a general overview of all the areas we're working in. So a little bit of work going on in the blue or cyan area. The red area, I'll get into that. That is our final push just to get our final inspections in that space over the next week or so. We actually have the final inspections lined up for this Friday. A lot of the above ceiling inspections in the orange spaces lined up for this Friday as well. The main entry vestibule, we've been pushing very hard on that. Most of the steel structure is in, which you'll see pictures of in the coming slides. We are beginning to frame all of the walls in that area and make the place really come to shape after all the underground work and foundations and everything that we've accomplished this summer. And then additionally, we're working hard in the front office to get that turned back over to both Tanya and Amanda, the principals at the two schools. So their offices are actually right now in a mostly finished state with flooring down, ceilings in, final inspections above ceiling tomorrow, final inspections for the entirety of the space early next week, and then we will turn that space over to them for move-in in the next couple of weeks through August. So jumping into some pictures here, I wanted to give Matt Smith with EEI an opportunity to give an update on everything he's been doing behind the scenes. So I'll turn it over to him quickly here and got a bunch of pictures for you, Matt.
Hi, Matt Smith with Energy Efficient Investments. We're working with Harvey's team to get all the MEP, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Top left is up in the mezzanine. We're getting the air handlers there built and ready to start pushing air down into the media center and the principal and admin areas. We should be getting air pushing around there within the next few days, and then working to finish up the cooling will come a little bit later, a little closer to the start of school. There's these are mostly ductwork, but you can see there's quite a bit that goes into it. getting from one level to another and finding pathways through the building. Lots of work to get that ductwork in, but we're pushing strong through that media center. That bottom left kind of shows the media center to the right and the hallway there, getting into the front principals and admins area. Also at the same time, we're also throughout different phases, as Brendan explained in the phasing picture, trying to get above ceiling electrical ready for Brendan. I tried to push him out, but he wouldn't let me. So above ceiling inspections are coming this Friday. So there was quite a bit of work in multiple areas to get that all put together. Started getting the in-wall and on-wall electrical done. Lots of fire alarm in that front vestibule because we're going from an old panel into a new panel. So there's been quite a bit of coordination there with Harvey's team and us getting that swapped over. Another big push was the boilers. We got the old boilers pulled out, new boilers put in, so they're working on the piping there and getting that ready to roll. So lots of progress over the last month and definitely heading in the right direction to get this ready for the kiddos when they get back to school. So
Continue to take you through some pictures. Thank you for that, Matt. So here's some pictures of the front entry vestibule just to show you what has happened over the last really month and a half here, 6 weeks to do most of this work. So a lot of the underground work in the top right is what you're seeing with the foundations. Then you have to backfill that with the proper materials, go through all the inspections and everything. So it's a lot of work underground just to get that foundation in. And then what you see in the picture on the left is the new steel structure. So as I was mentioning earlier, today the framers were out there starting to make this take shape so you can look at it and start to see what it'll look like in the future. And I do not have a picture of Main Dunstable, but the steel structure is a little bit different than this. It's really nice and wide open. It really creates a unique feature for the building. And that was completed today with inspections on Friday. So then the framing will follow immediately on that as well. So this is really the biggest push for the summer to get this main entry vestibule back. We had met with the school, I think it was 6 to 8 months ago, just to discuss that the timeline for this, we've always shown, was going to extend into September. And knowing that, we have been pushing to try and get the space done. In the event that we were not able to do so, we wanted to ensure that we had a contingency plan ahead of time. So we developed a contingency plan for a safe entry to the building and an alternative entry point for a couple of weeks. We are in the process of establishing that, making sure all the provisions are in place, just so if we get to the end of the summer and we haven't gotten this inspected, it will be open for emergency egress, but it would not be open for general access and egress for the first couple weeks of the school. So I'll continue to update you on that through the meetings in the next coming months, but that is really the critical item this summer, and everything else has been tracking right on schedule. A lot of pictures here will show you a lot has changed from the pictures previous in the slides. As you're seeing, a lot of ceilings are starting to populate around the items that Matt has installed above. You're now seeing light fixtures, finishes, finished paint on walls. And then we're also putting down flooring. Right here is a lot of the skim coating that goes underneath it to prep the floor to receive that new finished flooring. So a lot of work down at Main Dunstable and Birch Hill. And I did put this one slide together. I wanted to show some progress on the roof replacements as well. So this is Main Dunstable, as Mark had mentioned. So Main Dunstable, I would put it at about a 50% completion as of right now. This is moving very quickly, though, with the expectation of completing substantially the roof at Main Dunstable, probably about mid-September, if not late September. The work over at Birch Hill will extend into the fall, potentially the winter months, depending on crew availability. But overall, the roof replacements are going well and have been able to fit into schedules after getting that moving, just in April. So a lot of progress there. Any questions on Birch Hill or Main Dunstable?
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you. Great progress, Brendan. As we approach school 30 days out, we'll say, for both Maine Dunstable and Birch Hill, how many classes do you estimate will be displaced? I mean, I know that we have the temporary classrooms there,
Yes.
but what's your estimate there?
So we only have 6 classrooms that will be displaced upon
Okay.
return. So there are those
6 in each or 3 and 3?
six in each.
Okay.
Yes, it is identical in the phasing for both schools.
Okay.
So if I were to go back a few slides, you could see the phasing plan that I have. And if you look at the orange classrooms that are in both the upper and lower level, so those 6 classrooms come back in October. And that will come back to the teachers, faculty, and staff, Indigenous Peoples' Day weekend. Every other classroom shown in both red and blue will be occupiable. The blue is already occupiable.
Okay.
And
That's good
then there's also the portables and the gymnasium classrooms as well.
Great.
Any additional questions? Mr. Smith and I took a walk through Birch,
I'm just
Ms.
wondering,
Gilio.
the non-politician, I'm just wondering how early the teachers will be able to get in to Birch Hill and Maine Dunstable to set up?
They've already been coming in.
Even those who've been displaced in those 6 classrooms?
Yes,
already?
yes.
Oh, okay.
So we've already seen some of them populate in some spaces. They will be able to start fully setting up their classrooms on the week of 8/19. The week of 8/12, though, we've already been allowing custodial staff to move in there, wax floors, get the rooms ready. And then if you recall, the Phase 3 space that we had finished, which is the majority of the classrooms which would be displaced, all of the furniture was moved directly into there at the end of the summer to allow for a quick setup upon return to school and less burden on Mr. Smith's team.
That sounds good, thank you.
Dr. Hendrick?
Yeah, just for, I think, the clarification around the word displaced. So they're not in their home, but it's part of the original plan. So we knew what classrooms were moving in Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3, so there has been a organized plan on the movement. So, and I think everyone's, the plan is right on schedule or a little ahead of schedule. So there is organized movement and chaos throughout this, and the teachers are aware of that and have been extremely flexible. So I want to thank the teachers and, again, the project management on keeping this construction project moving along.
Just a couple of things. Both principals have been actively involved with us every week.
Yes.
And well, all the concerns you might have, they've had those concerns and have had them answered. And my 3 daughters went to Birch Hill, and I can tell you, when we're done with this project, it won't look the same. It's going to be very, very functional and beautiful, and geared towards better education, so.
Okay.
Alderman Lopez.
I was thinking to that point, since you mentioned earlier that there would be like a ceremony for opening McCarthy, is there going to be any rededication or like for those school communities too? Birch Hill and?
Yes, but the projects in those 2 schools don't end till next summer, so it won't be soon, but it will be. And by the way, when they do the construction, they segregate the students from the construction, so they don't have access to where the construction's going on.
So we could have a desegregation party?
And did you want to do these now, Brendan?
We'll do those, we'll finish the presentation if that's all right with you.
Okay.
Okay. So Dr. Crisp Elementary School, security upgrades, give you a quick update on that. Showing here some of the exterior work that's been taking place. So we did form and pour a new concrete sidewalk and ramp, as well as an ADA tip down, which you see in that center photo. So there's a few new handicap parking spots adjacent to that ADA access point. And then the new ramp that you're seeing in the picture on the right, that is to receive handrails in the coming weeks that will extend down the length of it for proper ADA access to the new secure entry. As part of this, there's also this existing sidewalk directly over here that is really, non-functional at this point. So working with Mr. Smith and his team, we're actually going to remove that and bring in some green space for the kids to play directly outside here. So it should bring the area together. We actually had the site work subcontractor on site today, remobilizing to get that work completed and loam and seed the area to a restored state. Some of the other things that will happen in the next 2 weeks here, for the handicap parking spots, we do have some new signage that goes in, as well as some pavement striping similar to what you've seen here following the final paving. So that will take place over the next 2 weeks as well. Moving to the interior here. So a lot of material arrival in both the 2 new exterior door frames for the secure entry vestibule, which you're seeing in the top left-hand photo. In the middle photo, you're seeing the remainder of the door frames, which have now been installed throughout the spaces. And you'll see in the coming photos, and also here in the right photo, some of the masonry work, building the new walls, bringing in the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing infrastructure that comes into the space to really bring that space to life. So after completing the selective demolition and doing all the concrete slab cutting and under slab drainage that I had shown you previously, we've been able to tackle quite a bit of work within that small renovation area. Some of the items that are also happening throughout the remainder of the building, some of the big scope we've been working on is the fire alarm replacement in its entirety. So we are now just working to install the remaining fire alarm devices after completing all of the wiring and infrastructure throughout the school. This week they were installing the new fire alarm control panel. They're pushing to start testing and programming that system the week of 8/5, and we have final testing with NFD and Michael Duvarney on 8/15. So a big push just to get that fire alarm system tested, programmed, and ready for student return. In the top left hand, you're seeing some of the fire alarm devices. That's pretty typical to what you've seen throughout the school. Some of the wiring just waiting for the devices to be installed. And then, as I had stated over here on the right, some of the finished masonry walls in the new spaces, forming new offices, a new nurse's space, and a new administration office.
So on the fire alarm panels, just so you know, as you are well aware, technology increases and becomes much more effective and efficient. And we haven't touched this school in how many years, Sean?
Since 1992?
Mid-90s.
Okay, so every time we touch a school like this, the fire department requires us to put in a new fire alarm panel and new activators, so that makes the school that much safer. It's their requirement.
So a few more pictures here, just showing you much of what I've spoken about. The installation of the new vestibule door frames in the top left hand. A lot of the masonry walls in the middle photos and right photos here starting to form the new office. During this week, we've seen finished paint start to come in after the masonry subcontractor has vacated the job site. We've started to grind and prep floors for finished flooring. And the mill worker showed up on site to start measuring his cabinets and getting cabinets developed and ready to install. So the space will start to quickly come together. Some of the things that will bring us into the early or late September month as well as early October month are things like the bulletproof transaction window. We will not receive that until the middle of September. We also have some of the bulletproof glazing. That is a very long lead time item as reviewed early on. So that will also come to us in mid to late September. And then as we transition through that portion of the project, we'll move into finalizing any HVAC controls and then moving into commissioning and owner's training, much like we have done here.
We use the term bullet resistant because if you fire enough rounds at it, sooner or later it'll give. But by that time, hopefully, NPD is here.
Why they're out of bullets. Any questions on Dr. Crisp?
Yes.
I'm just wondering, I'm pretty sure that I know the answer to this, but none of the classrooms were involved in this. It's mainly the office and the nurse's office. that had to move and be in a temporary place. So the classrooms are all where they were when school closed in June.
That is correct, yes.
That's great, thank
Yep.
you.
And Mr. Smith's group's been in there cleaning the rooms, doing the floors, and all the material will be back in the rooms before school starts.
Great.
Couple of bookkeeping items.
We have a couple administrative items. We have 2 PCCOs, and you'll recall that PCOs have already been approved. Do you want to?
We'll start with Birch Hill.
Yeah.
So this is PCCO number 5. This is the titled Miscellaneous Approved PCOs. It is comprised of the previously approved PCO for the BDA closet. So if approved for Birch Hill, this would be $12,074.71.
So this PCCO, Brendan wasn't sure he was going to be here this evening because he actually has a life outside of construction. And so we had to get these billed. And so I have already signed these, but I'd like a motion to approve PCCO number 5 for Birch Hill Elementary School in the amount of $12,074.71.
So moved.
So moving by Mrs. Gilio. Any discussion?
I'm
Yes.
really excited the way this was written because it has a dash in front of it. I was like, oh, they're down 2,000? But they're not.
No.
So can you use the colon next time?
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Brendan?
And the next one is the same thing. This is just for Maine Dunstable instead of for Birch Hill. So if approved, this is PCCO number 5, the BDA closet for $9,003.93.
Again, for the same reason I mentioned previously, I have already signed this to expedite it for billing, but this is, I need an approval for PCCO number 5 in the amount of $9,003.93 for the BDA.
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Wiltshire. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. So, you're all set? All right, so now EEI has given their report. Do you have anything else to add?
No booking.
Okay. So, Mr. Smith, you're on.
First of all, I thought Brendan always was in construction. So I get emails from him on Saturdays, Sundays,
I know.
every day of the week, all day long.
I tell him to stop.
I've ignored them once or twice.
I leave work and
Gotta get a life.
I leave work and my inbox is empty, and I come back in the morning and. But anyway,
Nice to be young.
so Stella Stadium, that's the city's youth sports stadium, built in 2002, and it's synthetic turf. And we replaced the original turf in 2011. That time, the expected life was about a dozen years, so we're now past that. If you think about synthetic turf, think about a blade of grass, a nice big thick blade of grass. Over time, that blade of grass breaks into a bunch of little blades, and then so it loses its cushion and its bounce back ability, if that's a word. And along with compaction, then you start to get very hard surfaces in various parts of the field. So Park and Rec actually maintains the facility for the school district. And every year they bring in a firm to do what they call GMAX testing. So it's a national recognized way to test the surface to see how hard it is. Field concussions, I read somewhere, account for about 10% of all concussions. We've had a number of those occur in our field as well. Their report is attached. If you go through the package I handed out tonight, you go to page 3 of 5. It shows an outline of shows the football field. And at various numbers, the blue circles correlate with the table down below. So anything over 200 is considered above the allowable limit. And we have 4 of those currently and we have a couple that aren't too far behind. Over time, that'll just get worse. So I don't think there's any doubt that we need to do something with that turf and to replace it. When we do that, last time we did this, we did some work with the under drainage. There's still some issues, so we see some work there. Talked to Elisa Gingras about other needs in the stadium. They want to replace the poles and nets behind the goalposts, install a fence around the field itself. So right now, wayward balls will go into the audience and everything, so they want to put a fence to stop that. The press box, the windows are failing, and the rubber membrane above it is starting to fail as well. Below the stands, the main grandstands, is a flat rubber roof, so we need to check that out as well. So also attached to this package is a spreadsheet, somewhere in here. Oh, next page. Some of these numbers we've got quotes for already, and the other ones are estimates, and it all comes to $1,451,109. The turf itself is the most critical piece of this. It's $850. We actually got that number from a firm that specializes in turf replacement. That is through a national consortium that's already been bid out. So if we choose to go with their product, it seems to be a good product, then we're not going to bid it out again. We just go straight with them. Again, it's already been bid out. So that number's, I didn't say it was, I didn't give a date of the estimate, but that's a pretty good number. What else? So the Board of Ed, I presented all this to the Board of Ed back in January, and on the 29th of January, they approved it and voted to send it on to the Alderman and then to this body. At the same time, it was presented to the Capital Improvement Committee, so they ranked it with all the other projects that are presented to them, and this particular one received a B3, which isn't as good as a B1 or a B2, but it's still a desirable project to do. I would note, at least in my opinion, those rated a 1 or 2 were not safety concerns. This is a safety concern. So I know Alderman Dowd's working with the city on how we change our capital improvement process. This is one of those areas I think we can do a better job of ranking things. So bottom line, I actually included the minutes from the Board of Ed that night, and they approved it. That's in that same package. So my recommendation is this committee take on the project. I think we still have to do some additional work on coming up with a final price. I think the Board of Ed wants that too.
So just a couple of notes. One, the city's sort of ahead of the ball game on this field because in 2011, I personally received a check from Andre Tippett from the New England Patriots, who paid for a substantial part of that field. That money's not available today, but that was in 2011, so the city did not have to pay a substantial part of what's on there already. We do, if we accept this, we can move it forward to the Board of Aldermen that was, as I explained to Mr. Smith in detail, the ad hoc committee is looking at projects, and it will be up to the ad hoc committee and the Board of Aldermen to fit it into the bonding plan. We have a particular plan right now that's looking to do no more than $30 million in bonding a year for the next 5 years. So how it fits in and when it can be done will be determined by the Board of Aldermen. But if this joint special so recommends that we bring it forward to the Board of Aldermen, we will put it in the queue. Well, Alderman Lopez?
2 questions. One is sort of nuanced, I guess. There's $50,000 allocated here for painting the concourse. What's the square footage of the concourse?
I couldn't give you square footage. I mean, I'm just looking down this hallway over here. The concourse is about that same size, except the ceiling is higher.
And then I also noticed, this may be for Alderman Dowd or President Bishop. It says, or I don't know actually. It says Stellas Reserve Fund is $84,000. What's the source for that, and How is that, is there a way of bolstering that?
I can talk to that. So that, in the spreadsheet that I provide at the very bottom, it shows us potential funding sources. So there's 84,000 that's still in the reserve fund. So that's money that was left over since the last time. Maybe it was Mr. Tippett that, part of what he donated on behalf of the Patriots. That's money in the queue for us to use for the stadium.
So kind of a one-off leftover?
That's funding that's available. I believe the spending authority on that is the Board of Education, so there's also a special revenue fund that has funds in it that could be used if the Board of Ed so desires. But we're going to have to figure that out when we bring it to the Board of Aldermen relative to funding. Alderman Sullivan?
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you mentioned the prices here in the upper left. It says updated January 18th of this year. Have they been updated since? And if not, do you feel, now that we're in July, that these will hold?
I think they're pretty close. Construction-wise, I don't think we've seen a lot of increase over the past 6 months. The one item here that is probably the most volatile might be the rubber membrane, because that's directly tied to petroleum costs. But everything else, I think, is a pretty good number. Again, they're estimates. I still want to get the hard numbers before we ask for the exact amount of money we need.
Okay.
So I'm assuming if the project is accepted by the joint special and then the aldermen take it under consideration, I'm not sure about the timing, but the consideration, then I think before we would ever bond it, we would have to go out and get a more stable price to be sure. So, it's up to this board. Does anybody want to make a motion that the Joint Special School Building Committee accept this project under our purview and bring it forward to the Board of Aldermen?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by Alderman Wilshire.
Oh.
Seconded by,
We got a presidential battle here?
Yes, I think so. I think I have half that field in my trunk, so I feel obligated to. All right, you win. I already wrote your name down.
Any other questions or concerns?
why does President Bishop have half the field in her trunk?
Lacrosse, field hockey, lots of cleats,
Those pieces of turf come off
smelly
in
feet in my
uniforms and-
car.
It's both a question and a concern.
Yeah, and I believe the Patriots, it was several $100,000, by the way. It wasn't 84,000. It was quite a substantial amount of money. At the time, they had monies for high school sports, athletic facilities, and we were the only facility in New England to get money from the Patriots at that time. But
Are they
the
still
fields wear
doing
out.
that?
It's
Are
extensive.
they still doing that? Do
No.
they have that program?
They're doing other things, but they're not doing that. Oh, Mr. Smith?
So another potential small source of funding is Bishop Curtin. They contributed money for the last time we did this. Actually, not a lump sum at the time, but they've been contributing money every year. I'm not sure if that's where the money is going to in that reserve fund or not, but kind of got from them, they'd probably do the same thing going forward. But it has, because we're not ready to move forward, they didn't come forward and say, yes, we'll do that.
Bishop Curtin is building a new athletic complex down in the south part of Nashua, but I don't think it's a stadium, so I think that they'll still be playing their games. And the arrangement was that they would contribute to the cost of the field.
Yeah.
Alderman Sullivan?
You know, I love my, the fund balances. And I'm looking, this is through May 31st of 2024, and according to this, in fund number 7061, Stello Stadium / YMCA, CRF, we have a balance of $299,662 in there.
That, because it mentions the YMCA, I'm not sure if that in...
I think it's just for the parking lot.
It's the parking lot, yeah. It's a joint parking lot.
Well, I only bring it up because maybe we should investigate it, because that's more than 84,000. So
Yeah.
we
True.
should see how we can use it.
Any other discussion? Yes.
So, do you think that we could go out and see if someone would help fund it? Like how we are working on other projects in the city, like for naming rights or different things like that for Stella Stadium?
Well, the naming rights have already been taken. It's Mata Field. We could hit people up for donations again. Patriots, I think, are out of the question. By the way, Stacy Hines is the one that got the Patriots to donate. Unfortunately, she just retired, so. But
She probably has lots of time on her hands to do that.
but that is certainly something we should look into.
I'm just asking because, like, I know that sports are very important to us here in Nashua, and we also have other fields that if we had to put Stella's on pause of using due to safety concerns, we could use other fields. We have fields at the high school or different things like that. Is there any of those things being considered as an option?
We have practice fields at the high school, but there's nowhere near enough stands to hold a crowd. I mean, they could be used for a game, but the people observing the game would be left out. Stellus Escoida Stadium was built specifically when Holman was taken over predominantly by baseball.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so the motion on the floor is to accept it in the joint special. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, Sean, you and I have some work to do. Okay. So, I guess we're at the point for invoices, and you all received the modification to the invoices, so we'll follow along with Mr. Smith.
Okay, tonight we have two invoices from Energy Efficient Inc. totaling $183,966.15 for work at Birch Hill and Main Dunstable. For Harriman Architects, we have four invoices totaling $38,690.04 for work at Birch Hill, Main Dunstable, McCarthy Middle School, and Pennachuck Middle School. We have five invoices from Harvey Construction totaling $5,842,385.93. Work for Birch Hill, Main Dunstable, McCarthy, Pennachuck, and Dr. Crisp. That was a bit of a jump from what you've been accustomed to seeing because we released a good portion of the retainage this month, since we're so close to the end of the project for McCarthy.
Just, some of that was paid because I signed the substantial completion for the school after checking with city attorneys. And so that's been signed so that some of the things could be billed. So very much closer to completing.
So one invoice from Hayner Swanson, from work at McCarthy for $1,611.44. Large invoice from Hertz that used to be called School Furnishings. That's for all the furniture that we just received at McCarthy Middle School, totaling $1,575,422.30. One invoice for H.L. Turner Group for work for the security upgrades, both at Dr. Crisp and preparing for new Searles, totaling $12,000 even. Three invoices from John Turner Consulting, a testing agent, totaling $3,562.65. Work at Birch Hill, Pennachuck, and McCarthy. One invoice from Conica Minolta for McCarthy Middle School. That brought all the copiers and whatnot over from Elm Street over here, plug them in, make sure it's all operating properly. Two invoices from MF Athletic Company, both for McCarthy Middle School. That's all the athletic equipment, field equipment, that sort of thing. $26,294. Three invoices from Page Street Leasing for ground storage units, $325. Pro AV invoices. Recall, that's the one where I said we already paid one of those invoices and we took it off the list. So the two remaining ones add up to $42,373.50. One invoice from Santa Life, that was the Induct air sanitation system that we approved for $531,756.25. And lastly, Turner Building Science Design for commissioning work at Pennachuck and McCarthy Middle Schools. They don't total that for me. One of them is $1,512, and the other one is for $25,125.32. So all that adds up to, for the middle school project, $6,173,284.99. For Pennachuck Middle School, $208,611.22. For Birch Hill and Bay Dunstable, $1,683,905.81. And for the security vestibule project, $225,316.56, all totaling $8,291,118.58.
So I'll need a motion to approve the invoices for the middle school project in the amount of $6,173,284.99. For the Pennachuck Middle School, $208,611.22. Birch Hill, Maine Dunstable, $1,683,905.81. Security Vestibule Project, $225,316.56, for a grand total of $8,291,118.58.
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Wiltshire. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Comments by committee members? Alderman Wiltshire.
I am so pleased to be in this building tonight. This is phenomenal. A lot of great work has been done by all these contractors and architects and everybody. It's amazing and incredible to be here. So thank you to everyone.
Any other comments?
A round of applause for them. Looks good, guys.
It looks very good. Even what you don't see looks good. Matt.
Story of my life.
Well, this one was Harvey.
Yeah, no.
Well, I'd say, I made Rick open up the HVAC upstairs last time we were here because I don't know why, but I love all of like the trees and stuff. Took a couple pictures, sent it to my HVAC friends. I was like, check this out.
So, Dr.
I just don't know why I care
Henry,
about it so much.
some of the people here haven't seen the school. Would you mind giving them a quick tour?
Absolutely. Yep.
By the way, if you've seen one floor, you've seen them all because they're identical, different colors. And I think you'll be amazed at how this all turned out. We have a perfectly good working stage. I think this is the largest screen the city's ever seen for presentations. So I think we've come a long way with this school. It seems like yesterday we were outside with 2x4s in front of us and signing a beam. And now we're within days of having this complete. But
I think Brian McCarthy would be impressed.
yes. And,
What do you think?
all right. So,
One more comment.
oh,
I don't know if this is a bridge too far, but I just want to offer it up to Sean and Alderman Dowd, who have worked miracles before, but I know they're bigger fields than football fields, but the World Cup is in Boston for 2026. So maybe, I know the soccer community would love more field space, so if there's a way to do a dual-use field, you might find sponsors that way.
They use
Look
that
at-
field for soccer too. Soccer, lacrosse,
I
field
thought soccer
hockey,
fields were bigger than football.
kids activities.
we'll look into every avenue for funding. Turn over every rock. Okay, we don't need a non-public, so would someone like to make a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Motion on the floor is to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned at 8 PM.